So, what does it feel like when you quit your job? Coming right up after the intro. Hey guys, ECRG here, back with another episode. Today we're going to be talking about what it feels like to quit your job in the clinical research industry. So, a lot of you guys know what it feels like to get a job or to apply for jobs, but may not know what it feels like to actually quit your job and some of the nuances that go along there. So we talk a lot about it on this channel. 2 years in, you should be looking for a new job unless you're trying to get to a project manager level or a CRA level. But you got to change jobs in order to get to where you want to go in this industry. And quitting is inevitable. And that's usually a good thing because you're going to be quitting one company, going to another company that's probably going to be paying you a lot more, give you a lot more benefits, and hopefully the job of your dreams. So what exactly happens when you quit your job? So you guys know you put in the customary 2 weeks notice. You talk to your manager about your plans to leave. But what happens after that? What are some of the things you don't expect? Well, one of those things you probably don't expect is how your coworkers are going to react to you leaving. So, this is a situation that's got to be really, really finessed because your coworkers, it's really funny actually because your coworkers are sometimes competitive with you. Like if there are jobs at the company, then they're going to be cutthroat and competitive against you. Or if there are a certain number of bonuses that can go out, some coworkers are going to put you down and put themselves up. But it's kind of a similar situation if you can imagine that dynamic when you finally tell your coworkers that you quit your job. So some of them are probably going to be like, hey, why didn't you tell me you were looking earlier? Well, obviously you can't tell them because word would probably get around to your management team and you could be fired on the spot. You just don't know how people are going to react. Probably some of them are probably going to initially be happy for you, which is good. That's probably, not the majority, but probably the minority of them are probably going to initially be happy. I think most of them are probably going to be pretty sad you're leaving, unless you're a real asshole. But I think for the average person, they're going to be sad that you're leaving, and they're just going to be sad at first. And that was my experience too, when I quit my first job in order to become a CRA. They were sad, man, and 2 weeks is a long time once you put in your 2 week notice too. Every single one of those days I felt it was a dread. It was almost a dread going into the office because, my coworkers, like every interaction with your coworkers at that point is going to have in the back of your mind that you're leaving. So they're probably going to be asking you about your plans and stuff. Word is slowly making its way around the office, and especially with the style office you may have. In this particular office, we had, we didn't have cubicles. We had those really, really stupid open floor plan desks, and I hate those. In fact, I'm gonna actually do a video on those and why they're stupid. But we had those, so it felt like everybody was in your business every single day, and people were talking to you, and that just made it very difficult to go into work because the energy was down around you. I felt like, like I said, every conversation with a coworker had that tinge of I'm leaving soon, and they're sad, they're gonna miss me, and all this stuff. So it kind of sucked going into work because I felt down like most of the day, and I didn't really go out to eat that much, but I started going out to eat for like lunch a lot just to get away from the office, to be honest, because I just felt down a lot at the office place. I don't know if that was just me, but and then some of the coworkers started acting kind of mad towards me, kind of mad that I was leaving and they weren't leaving. And it gets really competitive too, because especially if you're going to a big job that's hard to get, like a CRA job, other people want to be that job, want to get in that job too, and there might be some secret jealousy going on where on the face of it they're acting like they're really proud and happy for you. There could be some jealousy too. But of course, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, you could have left too. You don't have to stay at the same company that you're at. You could have left too. But there's that going on too, that secret jealousy / the overall downness of the office. But there's also like how you feel personally about the whole situation and how your work is affected, because you typically try to leave on a good note, so you want to kind of work your hardest all the way up until the last day. But a lot of stuff just doesn't seem to matter that much anymore. Like, I remember working on TMF, and I was kind of burnt out this time too. Like, if I was not getting that job, I might have said that before. If I was not getting that job, I literally would have been planning PTO, like right after the rejection letter came in. That was literally the next thing I was be doing. So maybe part of the situation was I was kind of burnt out and just ready to be done with work. But I think it was a mix of all those things. But I remember doing TMF and just not really caring anymore, because if I slacked off, I wouldn't feel any of the repercussions. Now, of course, my former coworkers, my colleagues at the time, would have to feel those repercussions for me and my lackadaisical effort. But I felt like it was a lot easier to slack off a little bit during that time, just because I wasn't gonna feel any of those repercussions. And yeah, I mean, that's just part of it. You've got to finish up strong. You've got to do your transition forms like we've talked about before, and that takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of tediousness. Those tedious tasks, you're not really going to be in the mood to do, because you don't have to face any of those repercussions. Everyone else is going to be doing that stuff. But yeah, I mean, those feelings are real. Like the feelings of like missing people, the feelings of those friendships, those camaraderies that you built up over the years. Those feelings of, I feel like the feelings of happy to go on to the next place isn't really going to be there until you actually get there to the next place. And I feel like that's what it was like for me. But maybe that could be different for you guys. But I just remember feeling down a lot those past 2 weeks while I was at work and really dreading going into work. So I think that's one of the benefits of being a remote worker is you're not going to feel any of that. You're not going to feel any of those negative effects, any of those negative vibes that your coworkers are giving you. You're not going to feel any of that. Because, I mean, what are they going to do? Give you like a sad face through IM or something? They're not going to be doing nothing. So I remember my older friends that are CRAs were telling me, like, it was so easy for them to jump from job to job. Like, they didn't have any of those personal connections. And I feel like that's one of those reasons why a lot of people end up staying at their job, is those personal connections. And they think in their own head, like, how are people going to feel like if I leave? Or, all those things that people think about that really has no effect on them. You've got to be able to leave. You've got to be able to jump. And the more remote you are, the easier it is to jump when you have time, when the time is right. But I feel like, those times you're in the office, there's those positives of being able to build friendships, being able to build close relationships. But the negatives are it's a lot harder to leave. And companies know that. I think that's one of the reasons why they're slow to adopt remote work, especially in clinical research. But they already let the CRAs do it. A lot of project managers, a lot of data managers, a lot of people work remotely. But it's a lot easier to leave when you don't have to do that. Because I'd been at that company for a couple of years and, built up all those relationships. So it was kind of hard to leave. And I was not expecting all those feelings for those past 2 weeks to kind of be there. Missing all those people, and really the overall somber and down mood going into work really kind of sucked. So I'd say that's the biggest thing. One of the biggest feelings you might feel when you're leaving a job. Let me see what else about what you might feel when you quit your job. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that also was helping me at the time was I was making so much more money at the new job. Like, I mean, every time some of those things were like, where I was thinking like, man, am I making the right decision, or is this the right job for me? Or, every time every time I'd feel a little down, I'd just be thinking about, man, but that salary is crazy. So, and I think one of the things that really made it easy for me is I always had that chip on my shoulder. Like, I knew early on, as soon as I could, I was leaving as soon as I got that job, because it was a lateral move for me and they didn't raise me at all. So I was like, all right, well, as soon as I get the opportunity, I'm out. Y'all screwed up with that one. Y'all should have at least played a little ball, show some good faith. And they didn't. So that was that. So that's what it feels like to quit your job. It sucks, guys, especially if you've got a good relationship with everybody. And all this is predicated on having good relationships. Obviously, if the job situation sucks and you hate your boss, you hate the people you work with, it's probably going to be really easy for you to leave. But if you have an overall good situation, you like everyone you work with, y'all are pretty close, it's going to be tough. It's going to be real tough. And, some people don't make it easy for you. So that's that. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this. I might do another part 2 about it if I think of some more stuff to talk about on what it feels like to quit your job. We'll probably do a video on how to quit your job properly in the clinical research industry, because there are a lot of nuances there that probably aren't in other industries with how to do it appropriately. And I'm sure a lot of you guys, we've helped a lot of people get into the industry, or at least boost their chances of getting into the industry. So it only makes sense that in a year or two, people are going to be ready to leave. So we might as well start making some content like that also. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this, like it, share it, subscribe. If you're listening on the podcast, leave us a review, please. The podcast has been going up. Thank goodness. People are listening to the podcast. I think more people listen to the podcast on average than do YouTube, which is crazy, because my background is in YouTube. And this is really the first podcast I've done for this channel. So that's awesome. Thank you so much for listening. I really, really appreciate it. We do have a donate button on the podcast. If I've given any value to you over the past months and years, don't hesitate to donate if you want to. All right, guys, take care.